Okay,
Yes,
thank
I'm
you.
working. Yes.
Okay, thank you very much. So, like I said, you're welcome once again. We are gradually getting to the end of this boot camp, and the tutors and the organizers have done their very best to ensure that within the shortest possible time, every participant that attended would have a basic exposure to the frameworks in cybersecurity, to operations of cybersecurity, to some policies in cybersecurity too. And I strongly believe that we have taken time not only to attend the class, but to read up after the class. Remember, I always say this, especially for any of the session I am able to join you guys, and I always say that your learning actually starts immediately the class ends. Because most people they feel that the time they are learning is while they're in the class, while the tutor or the presenter or the facilitator is handling a topic. But to be very sincere with you, your real learning starts once that facilitator is through. Your real learning starts when you go back, sit over what had been discussed, and start exploding each point. For each point can be exploded into more points. You start digging deep. You are not just looking at the surface. Because one thing that would really differentiate you among your contemporaries is how much depth you have. And how much depth you have is a function of how much you dig deeper after every episode. And that's one of the reasons I also really appreciate the organizers that makes the recording available so that the recording is available. Then I know most, if not even all, of our tutors, after they are done, they still release their PowerPoints to you. And it means you have both the recording and the PowerPoint. You have something to go and sit and dig deep on. You can pick each of those points and dig deeper and build your expertise on it because your education, your training, your exposure in any field, and more specifically with respect to cybersecurity, it's your personal responsibility. All we are doing is to just trigger your learning. All we are doing is just give you that platform. But your eventual learning remains your personal responsibility and what you do afterwards. So that's one of the reasons I always say once you are done in a class, please go back through the material, dig deeper than whatsoever it is that your lecturer or your, I wonder the supervisor, or let's say your tutor would have handled. So it's just important for us to take note of that. Now, we have gone through a number of weeks or a number of, let me use the word, episodes or classes for this particular boot camp. And I strongly believe that everything we had gone through would provide the necessary platform and framework for us to dig deeper when it comes to issues around cyber security. I will just quickly do a rundown. I'm very sorry. I am not disposed to share my screen. I can't join with the system yet. So just permit me, I would just go ahead and cover as much as I can cover. Okay, now it's very important to take note. When we started out with a welcome e-party, which we did a general overview of what we'll be going through. Then we went ahead and we got through cybersecurity foundation and fundamentals, which laid the foundation for most of the other things that we discussed about. And after that, we looked at core cybersecurity principles. And after the core cybersecurity principles, we looked at cybersecurity attack mitigation and risk management. Then we looked into introduction into cybersecurity framework and standards. That's very important. Cybersecurity framework and standards. Then we looked into cybersecurity tools and technologies. And we looked into job roles and specialization in cybersecurity. Then we also look into cybersecurity policies and governance. And after that, we looked into implementing cybersecurity in an organization. And if you had followed through, you discover that there's a pattern. And that pattern is we kept going through different aspects of cybersecurity and we brought it into taking steps to now implement cybersecurity in your organization or in an organization. So it's important to just take note. That's just a high level overview. Now, outside this, we looked at the fact that going through this training is not enough. One of the things we need to also do is to give you an avenue where you would be able to pick up some of the things you have learned right from the class, and probably some of the things you dug deeper on your own. Like we always make a reference to some of the things you dug deeper on your own, and you're going to come up with a project. Now, when we talk about projects in cybersecurity, we are very conversant with the fact that we started on a high level approach with you. That's number one. And number two, you are not yet in the, how do I put it now? You are not yet very perfect. But there's one thing we believe: you don't need to be very perfect before you start putting your hands on a number of things. I always tell people this, permit me to divert a little bit. I always tell people this, that for me as an individual, one of the ways I used to expand my expertise when it comes to cloud, because for those who know me very well or who know me outside of here, it was actually through cloud computing, going through cloud engineering, eventually cloud architecture, that I actually got into tech before I now branched off into cybersecurity and AI. I always say this, that one of the things that helped me was hands-on. I was more focused on hands-on than certification, to the extent that there were some of my friends, I was doing some coaching and mentoring for people that are trying to get into cloud computing. And at the end of the day, some of these people actually had, it's funny, they had certifications I don't have, but yet I trained them. I don't have those certifications, but yet I trained them. I mentored them to get cloud jobs. Now, one thing that is very important that I have seen in this field is the most important thing is not just your certification. Certification is good if you can go for it. The most important thing is your hands-on. What can you do? Now, when it comes to cybersecurity, our hands-on can come in three folds. We can have hands-on in the aspect of governance, risk, and compliance. That's when we begin to talk about policies. We're going to talk about auditing. We're going to talk about risk framework. Hands-on can come in that direction. Then there's the technical hands-on. We can have the technical hands-on, which you are able to deploy and use those cybersecurity tools and technology that Tutor Aziz took you through. And I will still interact with him to know how much of that you can handle. Okay, we have some people trying to come in. We need to get them on board. I just noticed that. Okay, so we would look at another aspect of technical. Yeah, we can mute. Kindly mute. Thank you. Yeah. So it's important to Abdulhamid, please kindly mute. Okay, thank you very much. So it's very important and very crucial for us to take note of the fact that you can have your hands on in the aspect of governance, risk, compliance, policies, auditing, risk assessments, and the rest. You can have your hands on in the aspect of the technology and the tools, which has to do with you scan a network, scan for vulnerabilities and the rest. Then you can decide to have your hands on the hybrid model, which has to do with both a combination of technology and the tools of cybersecurity and the other non-technical aspect of cybersecurity. You can choose to have your hands on around those areas. But I always encourage this in all honesty. When you are starting out as an entry level, try as much as possible to know every area is just critical. When you are starting out, as a cybersecurity person, as an entry-level person, don't look at a side at the expense of another side. I see a lot of people, they look at the technical aspects without paying attention to the policies, the risk management, the framework aspect. And some persons, they look at the framework aspect, the risk management aspect, the governance risk and compliance aspect, without also looking at the technology and the technical aspects. As an entry cybersecurity professional, you need exposures in both areas. Is as you go on, you can now determine to tell yourself, okay, I want to build my expertise around this area. I want to build my expertise around this area, or I want to build my expertise around this area. So those are very critical and very important. Now, I have to go through this because the projects you will be assigned to handle will fall into any of these categories. Very, very essential. And please take notes. We don't want you to just go and do a copy and paste work, because for everybody to successfully go through this boot camp and to have your certificates, you do a presentation of your project. Either it's the hands-on technical or the hands-on governance, risk and compliance and policies and risk assessment and auditing, or the hybrid. Whichever way, you will have to do a presentation to tell us what you did, to tell us what you discovered, and to brief us a summary of everything that you've done. And we will start the presentation. We'll give you about a week to work. So it means by next week, Thursday, we would start our presentation. However, we will still come online on Saturday to just have a general discussion, so that in case if you are having a challenge, or you want to ask questions, or you need clarifications in the particular area of your own projects, we'll discuss it. So just take note of that. So we will still come around on Saturday to just take a general evaluation of what we are looking at, but the presentations will be held next week, Thursday. And I think each person, we have about 10 minutes to present. So please take note of that. And before your presentation, you would be required to have submitted your work. Then whatever things that you have submitted, you need to now summarize it under 10 minutes. So everybody will have 10 minutes to make presentation next week, Friday. So what we are going to do on Thursday is to look at the progress you have, I said Thursday, on this week, Saturday, is to look at the progress you have made, provide support. I will keep providing that support. And afterwards, we would come up with the presentation next week, Thursday. So I want you to kindly prepare. Now, what are the nature of topics that you are likely to see, which from either this evening, is anybody still in the lobby? Okay, either from this evening or from tomorrow. I think precisely from tomorrow. Let me confirm that. Okay, from tomorrow, we'll start getting list of topics that you could pick. And I would encourage you, immediately we start posting them. It's going to be on a first come and first serve basis. So if somebody else picked that topic, it means you have to wait for another topic. So we'll just release topics in the group, and you pick the one you would want to work on. And once you pick the one we would assign you to a supervisor, somebody that will supervise your work, that would supervise your work, that you would constantly and generally reach out to for each stage of your work, to guide you and to direct you in preparation for your presentation. Now, I want you to take note that your presentation is actually part of the training for you. I always tell people this, that what you know does not matter until you're able to communicate that which you know. The difference between you and somebody else is the ability to communicate what you know, not what you know. Because you might know A and B might be in the same class, B might know more than A. But when the opportunity comes, A is able to make a logical presentation of that little that he knows more than B. And at the end of the day, people will only evaluate you based on your presentations, based on what you're able to say about what you know. So please take note, the presentation is also part of the training. We want you to be able to talk about that which you know. Remember, you don't have to be a professional. And I believe the supervisors that will be assigned to you will do a big job. You don't have to be a professional. the most important thing is those little that you know, you should be able to communicate. You should be able to communicate them. That's very critical and very important. Okay, so let me quickly go through likely topics that we may be exposed to or we may be asked. Coming. Okay, now, sorry, I wish I can really share my screen. Let me see. Let me see. Okay. Pin, 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 pin. Okay, just hold on a little bit. I would come up with something. I just want you to be able to see what the framework of presentation would look like. What the framework of presentation would look like. Okay, I thought I shared it somewhere. Okay, like I have said earlier on, everybody would be assigned to a supervisor that will work with you to help you prepare for both the project and the presentation. Like we already made mention of the fact that we would not want you to do a copy and paste. We don't want to do a copy and paste. There are some of your work that will require you to actually interview people. You would have to interview some persons, collect a little bit of data, and not something very elaborate, but something that can show that you actually did something practical. Okay. Yep. Sorry, please. I'm trying to sort some things out. Okay, something that can show that you did something practical. Now, for instance, I will go through a few examples of likely topics. Then, like I said, before the next 24 hours, we'll start posting topics in the group where you would pick. So once we post a topic and somebody says, I'm picking this, it means nobody can pick that topic again. Others would go to look for other topics. We can have topics like, or topics that is focused on cybersecurity risk assessment and mitigation plan, and could go into a direction of telling you to develop a comprehensive risk assessment for a specific organization. We could say an hypothetical organization, but we want to say for a specific organization. So it means you need to mention an organization in which you are developing a risk assessment, cybersecurity risk assessment for and a mitigation plan. So you could be asked to develop a risk assessment for a hypothetical or a specific organization, and in which you would have to identify potential threats, vulnerabilities, and associated risk. Then you would also be required to create a mitigation plan. Don't see this thing as difficult. It is not, because I could feel the pulse that some persons are like, hey, how do I know this? You have gone through it before, just that you did not pay attention that you've gone through. And that's the benefit of this, so that you'll be able to now pick some of the things you've gone through and be able to put them into real life practice. Then some projects could be focused on ethical hacking and vulnerability assessment. I believe you will, is something that can be done. You'll be asked to conduct an ethical hacking simulations in a controlled environment. Now, apart from the write-up, for people that may walk the path of the technical aspect, apart from your write-up, you will be required to share your screen when you are performing, because you'll be required to perform some activity real life. So please, once you are getting ready for presentation next week, Thursday, if you are working on the practical aspect, you'll be required to share. I think not you, everybody, because even if it's not the technical aspect, you need to share your screen for your presentation. So it's very important. So please, it means for next week, Thursday, everybody needs to get a laptop as much as possible towards next week, Thursday, because you'll be making a presentation and you need to share your screen. So I'm now specific about those that are going to handle the technical aspects. Apart from sharing your screen for the presentation, you need to share your screen for the process of using some of those tools and technologies. We want to see you use them. You know, we want to see you use them. We want to see you. I believe whoever it is that would supervise you will have done some things ahead to prepare you, because I would not want you to. I would not want it to be on the day of presentation that you are setting up your virtual environment, or is the day of presentation you are setting up your virtual OS operating system. No, please, you'll have set out your Kali. You have set up your Kali. If you are going to be using Kali, you have set it up ahead. All you just need to do is demonstrate how to do scanning of network, demonstrate how to scan and identify vulnerabilities. But just take notes. You have a supervisor that will work with you if that's the aspect you want to get into. Then we could also have topics that is focused on incident response plan, in which you will be required to name a specific organization and create a comprehensive incident response plan for that organization. And you need to outline the step that you will take in case of a security breach. So you discover that the topics we are giving you, they are not topics you can just go to ChatGPT and type in and copy and paste. Yes, you can use the generative AI to guide you in a specific step, but you cannot use it to generate what you are going to present, because what you are presenting would be focused on real life issues. So you can use it to serve as a guide. Like I always say, I'm not against using generative AIs. I'm not against using ChatGPT, but use it responsibly, use it honorably. Don't just do a lazy man's work. It's going to show, it's going to be very glaring, because what you generate and you don't take time to understand and to deploy into real life issues, you can't talk about it. And remember, you have to talk about whatever it is that you'll be presenting. So some persons will work around incident response plan, and you are going to take us through procedures of containment or recovery, then lesson learned. Some persons would have to also work on network security analysis. Yes, this would be under the technical aspects, and whoever it is that will be your supervisor would help you to develop a framework in that direction. And some persons would have to also work on standards, cybersecurity standards. And when I'm saying standard, the nature of the topic is not going to be something, like I said, that you can copy and paste. You would have to go out. You would have to go out. You would have to go out. I believe your supervisor would give you more directions on that. Then there will be some work on phishing awareness and prevention. Phishing awareness and prevention. There's going to be some work, and you'll be required to, as part of your project, to create a phishing awareness campaign and include educational materials for specific organization. That's very important to take note. So this is just a framework and the direction of how your project would go like. And remember, you have just about a week to complete everything that you are doing. You have just about a week. So that's why I said in less than 24 hours time, we'll start posting topics, and you can pick up the topic that you would want to work on. So it's important we take note of this, and I would say this is going to be the interesting or the most interesting part of our training, of our boot camp. This is going to be one of the most interesting parts. Well, somebody has been waiting in the lobby. This is going to be one of the most interesting parts of our boot camp, and is a part that I would encourage you to please take very seriously. Take very, very seriously, because it's going to eventually determine what you've learned or not. Well, I would ask for the permission and the directives of the organizers. There is no way you can be a part of the project if you have not really been available in class as it is, but the organizers will make the final decision. For today, we have just 9 persons. 9? 8. I think that should be 8. That's including myself and the person facilitating the meeting. So let's say we have 8. So it means at the end of the day, we might not be releasing more than 8 project topics, except there are some persons that are not on this call that are supposed to be here but have been coming, but due to some exigencies, they are not able to come today. But it becomes very glaring that we will not even have more than 10 when we look at people that have been available. So I want to appreciate you, and I want to thank you for putting through all the abilities and strengths and time and resources to follow this program to this. And this is a stage in which we are getting into the real meat, that is the aspect of all that we have learned, and how to deploy those knowledge in life situations and real life scenarios. Some of you might be required to even write cybersecurity policies for a specific organizations or a specific organization. So it's just important to take note. So in the absence of any other thing, I would want to open the floor or open the room for maybe questions. You want to ask questions, you need clarifications before we call it a day. Remember, like I said, it's not going to be a long session today. Today is just meant to announce the project phase of this boot camp, and the project phase would last for about a week and a half. And that's why I said by Thursday next week, all presentations should start, and latest by Saturday, we should be done with all presentations if we don't finish on Thursday. And if you don't do presentation, there is no way you would have a certificate. That's just glaring. That's just very glaring. Okay. If you have question or you need clarification or you have one or two things you want to add, and if there are other tutors in the room, please, you are very free to come up and talk. Okay. If you have questions, please be very free. Ask your question. Seek clarification. And I believe you should be getting excited because this is a time. And please take notes. Whatever project you work on can be part of your resume or can be part of your CV. So you should be excited, not be afraid. You should be excited that you're going to work on a project that will be used as or will be listed in your resume. Okay. What if we are given a topic that needs us to learn a new tool or programming language on the technical aspect? You would not get into that level. If there's going to be a topic that you are given that will require you to learn a new tool, not necessarily programming language, your supervisor would take you through that. And I believe it's going to be something that you can catch up under 24 hours. We'll not give you a project that you will struggle with in the next 1 week. We'll give you a project that you can catch up, even if you have to use a tool or a programming language. There are some aspects, even, let me give you an example. If, for instance, you are picking up SQL, there are some aspects in SQL you can learn in 30 minutes. So whichever programming language, probably eventually you're going to be working on Python, or I don't think anybody will do anything JSON or JavaScript. I don't really know, but I'm not sure. But like I said, don't worry. It's not going to be something out of the ordinary. It's not going to be something that you can't handle. So take note of that. Thank you very much. Okay, other questions or clarification needed? Abdulhamid, Judy, Olawale, Priye, Praise, Tunde, Williams. Have question? You are very free to ask. And please, I would encourage you, please still pay attention to the resources that have been provided. Pay attention to them, those resources that have been provided for you. Please pay attention to them. It's very important. Okay, I think if there is no question, we might call it a day or might call it a evening. I once again want to appreciate you for taking out time to invest in your education, for taking out time to invest in yourself, especially in the area of cybersecurity. I want to deeply appreciate you. Remember, like I always say, your learning starts after you are done with the class. That's when your learning starts. Okay, somebody's asking a question. Even after the project period, will the project supervisor's mentorship still be available? I think the organizers would address that really, but I know quite all right that the contract the supervisors and the tutors have hands with this program. The contracts, except the organizers come up with something else, but the contracts the tutors have with the organizers hands immediately we are done with this boot camp. We are done with this boot camp. Okay. Is anybody still asking anything? Okay. Maybe people prefer to type that to talk. Next week, either you like it or not, you have to talk. Okay. Yes, if you need to get data from a specific company, we encourage you to go there. But like I said, we would not put you through a rigorous process of getting data. We just want you to get we'll do more of opinions. You sample opinions, then probably a kind of focus interview. But if you need to gather data, so it's not going to be something out of the ordinary, and it's not going to be something that will take a lot of your time. So let's take note of that. Okay. The kind of data you would gather is not going to be a sensitive data like that, and would just put it through the process of how to go about it. Sometimes, okay, let me give an example. Some or one or two would be required to work on PCI DSS. And for PCI DSS, all you just need to do is to just ask a few questions. Ask them questions, and they are not questions that will contain personally identifiable information. Just make them realize that, oh, you are doing a research, and you ask them. And once they don't know, they don't know. Does not take anything from them. So just take note of that. It's not going to be, like I said, we'll make sure that it's something that you can easily gather. It's going to be data you can easily gather. And please take note you have 1 week to work. So don't get it too extended. Make sure that anything you are doing, you get them done in 1 week. But like I said, the supervisors will work with you to guide you. Thank you for that question. Okay, any other? Okay, thank you very much. Mr. Michael, we can stop recording now. We would have to call this a day. Thank you very much. Thank you for coming around in the last 8 weeks. Thank you for your commitment to learning. Thank you for your commitment to learning, which is deeply appreciated.